Tonight, Cocoa Board and the governing MPP jointly accuse NDC flag bearer John Mahama of diversion of state funds, inflation of cost, and widespread corruption in award of Cocoa Road's contract.
The 140 contractors who awarded the 229 contract, none of the contracts went through a competitive tendering process. Not a single one. This is a classic case of incompetent economic management worsened by corruption.
Tonight we will interrogate the allegations. And Top Story is always brought to you by Gasem Cement, the Nation Builder, and Vodafone. The future is exciting ready. It was just this past weekend that NDC flag bearer John Mahama threw this challenge to the MPP government about alleged corruption in the contract his government awarded under the Cocoa Roads project.
And yes, a contractor no almost 5 days and go no so
It's been 4 years. Nothing has been done on the road. With a few months to the election, they are now here to say they are working on the road. What I want to ask them is, the investigation that they said they were doing for which they halted the road project, the Cocoa Road report, where is the report? They should publish the report. There is nothing incriminating in the report. There is no incriminating report. But because of politics, they left the road. 4 years you couldn't do it. 2 months to the election, what can you do? But by the grace of God, NDC, which started the road, will come back and compete.
Well, the government and Cocoa Board have been reacting to that challenge today, indeed producing what they say portions and excerpts from that Cocoa Road audit report. In fact, this was a joint press conference addressed both by the MPP and the chief executive of Cocoa Board. I wanted to listen to Yaboabi Asama, who is the director of communications for the New Patriotic Party, laying out what he says are the revelations in this report, pointing to inflation of cost, but also diversion of funds from main Cocoa Roads project to other state ventures, including also they say that the contracts that were awarded were without transparency and that the individuals who won the contract never went through any competitive bidding.
He has shown some remarkable bravery in daring to speak on the contract he and his spouse awarded for Cocoa Roads. He's asking for the government to publish what is already public, the audit report of the said Cocoa Roads contract. First of all, for John Mahama, his habit was to award contracts even when he had no clue how to pay for them. Cocoa Roads contracts awarded by the previous government, constituting 229 projects, amounted to some 5.1 billion Ghana cedis. This was at a time when funds available to pay for road construction in total was only 1.7 billion Ghana cedis. He committed 3.2 billion, 64% of a total fund that he did not have, to just 74 projects awarded by the Ghana Highways Authority, not the Department of Feeder Roads. The 131 project under Feeder Roads was valued at just 1.5 billion cedis. Again, the average cost per kilometer of trunk roads in the contract awarded was 2.5 million cedis, more than double the kilometer cost of the feeder roads at 1.16 million Ghana cedis. The 140 contractors who awarded the 229 contracts, none of the contracts went through a competitive tendering process. Not a single one went through a competitive tendering process. The cost per kilometer was much higher than the average cost of other government-sponsored road projects. For example, for the Pristia-Samreboy Road, awarded to Asabia Engineering Limited, the audit report found that it was inflated by 121.85%. This is a classic case of incompetent economic management worsened by corruption.
Joining me on the telephone line right now is the Chief Executive Officer of the Cocoa Board, Mr. Joseph Boahing Edu. Mr. Edu, thank you for your time here on Top Story. Hello, Mr. Edu.
Yes, please.
Thank you for your time here on Top Story.
It's my pleasure.
Great. Just to clarify, the former president's challenge to you was to produce the so-called audit into the cocoa rows that you conducted. What I heard was a reading of allegations. Do you actually have the report published somewhere that we could all verify?
In the first place, let me thank you for this opportunity. And then also, let me make some corrections because I was in the country, the past 2-3 years, and based on the soundbite that you just played, I heard the former president saying that we abandoned, the root project. Yes, it's political. I don't want to see that, maybe he doesn't have his facts, but just simply to say that he's not being truthful to all of us Ghanaians. The fact is that there was suspension on highway projects and airport projects, for just some limited period. In the case of the roads, all the feeder roads, there was nothing like suspension, which means that he doesn't have his facts. And that's the first point of correction.
Okay, so just to clarify, the line wasn't great for some periods. You're saying that no cocoa roads was suspended?
No, I'm not saying that no cocoa roads was suspended. He's saying that for 4 years, and I'm saying that is factually incorrect. It's not truthful. It's not being truthful to all of us, because that is not true. In short.
But you suspended some of the roads because of the probe.
Because of the review, some highway roads were suspended. Some urban roads contracts were suspended. All feeder roads contracts that we inherited, what we call the heritage road projects, were not suspended. They continued. And then in the case of even the highways and urban roads, as and when the review was completed, immediately the contractors were made to go and continue. In some cases, after 4 months, 5 months, upon the time when the audit was done, the contractors were made to resume. And in some cases, there was rescoping and then re-award. That's what happened. So we never stopped, and we continued to pay. We paid, at the time we assumed office, outstanding IPCs, that interim payment certificates, were to the tune of 819 million Ghana cedis. There was no funding for all this. We had to pay. We never stopped. We had to pay all these outstanding bills, which were left behind the NDC administration without any funding whatsoever. There was no money, nothing. We had to go to central bank to go and borrow to be able to pay all these outstanding. And these are IPCs only, interim payment certificates. These were outstanding works, ongoing works, and outstanding ongoing works were over 2 billion Ghana cedis. And the contractors continued to work, and that's how come most of the roads had been completed.
Okay, so let's go to the real reason why you suspended some of these roads. It was your suspicion that some of these contracts were awarded and may have been inflated or may have been tainted with corruption or value for money questions may be there. These were the reasons why you suspended for the probe to happen, correct?
Yeah, for value for money audit.
Okay, good. Now you've done...
And also for rescoping.
For rescoping. You're done with the probe. Did you establish that indeed these suspicions were valid? And if you did so, how much did you save this country?
The report is that today we show the report. I think anybody, I think the president, the former president himself can get access to the report and then look at it. But
journalists were not giving a copy of the report.
I cannot give you all the full detail, but I can give you a few examples.
I mean, we'll come to the details, but I'm just a matter of why didn't you simply publish the report so we can all access it and verify and read it for ourselves?
The report, the essence of it was a review, and it was to guide the road program, that the Cocoa Roads program. So and that's exactly what happened.
So have you published the report?
It was to assist the management of the ongoing Cocoa Roads program.
So it is only for management it was only meant for the eyes of management.
That was the real essence of it.
Okay, but since it's become such a public matter and it's a taxpayer's fund, you thought you should probe it. Don't you think it's appropriate now to make it public so we can all see?
And I'm saying the report is there.
Okay, but it's there. But
go and take a copy.
Oh, I can access a copy?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, and do I have to apply or is it simply available online that I could download?
Oh, it's a public document. So if you need a copy, you just have to go through the procedure and take a copy. I don't think there should be any difficulty. Nobody is hiding anything, anybody. With respect to this report.
Just a final point before we go to the substance. Why don't you simply make it published? Just publish it so that I can access it any way I want online.
But why do we have to publish it? Because this was in boss operation.
It was for the board.
It was intended for an administrative purpose.
Yeah, because of the public funds involved, it's become such a matter of public importance now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you need it, then you have to, just follow the procedure and then take a copy.
Okay, we'll do so. So the substance, what did you find? Did you find evidence to back your suspicion?
A lot of things, are in that report. We have a lot of things in that report, and I think it was good that such review was done because we were looking for value for money, and by the report we've been rapidly judged and then guided.
So what did you find specifically that showed that there wasn't value for money in the contracts awarded under the John Mahama administration?
I think I've given some examples over and over again. For instance, roads which were ceded from GOG to Ghana Cocoa Board had their figures, being higher than as they were under GOG. Some roads were ceded at the last minute in 2016. Somewhere October 2016, thereabout. These were GOG roads. And if the road was X cost, when they were ceded to Cocoa Board, they became X times 3 or X times 4 costs.
Okay, so I was hoping, I was hoping you give me real hard numbers, because if you spend a lot of resources in this, give me a global sum. How much did you believe you saved by spending all the time and effort and money to do this audit?
How much we saved? You see, a lot of misinformation has been churned out there. And I think that is the angle from which you are coming, because the NDC went public to say that we spent $10 million US on this review. But the point is that we don't even pay. They can check from the audit, the audit service or the any of audit reports. We don't pay for such services in dollars.
Okay, so how much did it cost us? How much did it cost us?
Committee. Please let me say. It was a committee. It was a committee's work. It was a committee's work. Again, they got it wrong. That there was a consultancy firm and all that. But the work was done by a committee to look at the review. When they were not paid in dollars, and the amount that was paid doesn't come anywhere whatsoever close to what they are exaggerating.
Okay, so how much did you spend then on this audit?
When you get to the report, you will know.
Okay, I mean, so you still on this angle of applying for the copy of the report. I'll hold you to it because we'll apply for a copy of this report and get the details. But I asked, my fundamental question was, how much did you save the taxpayer by spending the time and the resources on this audit?
Well, for that one, it runs in hundreds of millions, because in one instance, a road which was originally, costed for 18 million at GOG, when it was brought to Cocoa Board, the figure went up to 170 million.
From 80 million to 100 from 80 million to 170 million.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one example. Kindly hold the line for me briefly, because I want to bring in your friend and colleague, Mr. Agboja, who speaks for. He's a member of parliament for Adaklu. He speaks for the minority on roads and transport. Joins us on the telephone line. Mr. Agboja, you've heard the chief executive of Cocoa Board himself. Your reaction?
Well, Evans, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I want to thank you very much for what you are doing. First of all, I was going to ask you whether you have a copy, but I saw you asking him, and obviously you don't have a copy. Evans, since 2017, the New Patriotic Party, including the president, came to Parliament and said that he's in support of Cocoa Board suspending works on Cocoa Roads pending an audit into what they claim ghost roads and inflated contracts, and that the report will be made available as soon as it's ready. We are in the dying hours of this government, and the truth is, nobody has got a copy of that report. I've asked 2 questions in Parliament regarding this. I didn't get any answer. With the specific issues that
I don't know if you heard him when I asked that question. When I asked the question about the report, he says it's available. We should apply and get a copy. Would you apply and get a copy?
You can lecture the 2 of us on this. When you use public money to do things like this, historically in our country, you just publish it. You don't then tell us to actually apply for it. Evans, on another network, my good senior colleague actually said that it was a committee that was asked to do this audit.
In fact, he said it. He said it right now too. That's a committee that did the work.
But he said also that there was a company that other people recommended to him that should back them, and we are talking. I think it's Nyangzi Engineering Limited. And guess what? The chairman of the committee of the ad hoc committee that was formed is the owner of the Nyangzi committee. We will get to those details in Parliament. Fortunately, Parliament is open.
Please,
but these are the facts.
I don't think we have to personalize this matter.
Evans,
these are the facts. Personalize this matter.
There's no evidence.
The host,
Evans,
please host.
Mr. Agboja, give me a second.
Because if it's a committee, it's a committee.
Well, he's making a point. Is it true that the chair of the committee had an entity that you also hired and paid to help with the project?
The head of the committee was part of a committee. Of course, the committee was made up of private and public, members, because we wanted to have a fair and an objective assessment of everything. In the public entity alone to do the assessment. And that's why we consulted the Ghana Association of, Engineers, Ghana Association of Architects and the affiliates to nominate somebody who was not involved in any of the ongoing projects, whether be it road construction or architectural, services related to any of the cocoa roads. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and the company, the question
committee work. So I don't want, I don't expect my honorable member to personalize.
No, I mean, the question he raised. No, the question he raises is an important one. He says that the company that was nominated, the man who the company is affiliated to a member of the same company you set up to do the audit. Is that true?
The company had nothing to do with cocoa roast. That is the most important.
Okay, but is it true that there's somebody on the committee who was linked?
That would have amounted to conflict of interest. But this company had nothing whatsoever to do with. All what we're looking for was to have some expertise, professionals, to join cocoa board engineers to do the work.
Yeah, and if you can answer the question directly, I'll be very grateful. This company, did you have somebody on the committee that was doing the audit that owned or was affiliated to it?
I've already explained that there was a private participation.
Mr. Agboja, yes, please go on.
Yes, like I said, the chairman of the ad hoc committee owns Yankee Company Limited. And Evan, as a matter of fact, there's nothing in the Public Procurement Act 63 or the revised version 914 which says that Ghana Institute of Architects or Ghana Institute of Engineers can recommend a company and that company automatically qualifies under the Section 40 of the Procurement Act to be engaged. You still have to go through the process. So in the future, we would have to interrogate that. Nothing in the Public Financial Management Act 921 also qualifies that. So at least he's confirmed that the chairman of the committee, they set up a committee to investigate conflict of interest and corruption. Yet the chairman of the committee is the one whose private company have been used. May I ask him directly as well? Is it true that one of the sons of Honorable Osafo Mafo worked ad hoc with the so-called private company as well? If you like, you can answer.
I mean, why is that? Why is that an essential point?
Because it is about government. It's about government. And since he's not able to answer directly whether the chairman of the ad hoc committee owns Nyangzi Engineering Limited, all those details will come out. I'm sure he's offered you that you get a copy of the report by the close of the week. I am sure when you get the report, you will see who authored the report and everything. Even if there's actually a report. And my brother, he also talked about so many things. He talked about a project which was 18 million and then later 100 and something million. For God's sake, Evans, a project was being done by one entity. It was rescoped. In fact, in his submission, he told you some of the projects were rescoped. The project was rescoped totally, and the cost changed. Evans, the truth today is that there's no evidence that there was any wrongdoing under Cocoa Road under President Mahama. And let me tell you this, they haven't proven that any of the procurement under, even if it's sole sourcing, was done wrongly because Section 40 was adhered to. But let me give you this shocker. A government that queried Cocoa Road, which was costing a kilometer of 583,000. Let me even be specific. The Asabia project he talked about, which cost 583,000 Ghana cedi per kilometer. Today, Evans, under my good friend, Cocoa Board is hiring Top Engineering Company Limited to do the rehabilitation of Elubo to Enchi Road, 74.246 kilometers for $116 million. That means that a kilometer is $1.6 million. Evans, this is the biggest record of a kilometer, cost per kilometer in our history. And so if you're looking for a government that is unable to be straight with the people, you stop Cocoa Road and actually the road deteriorated. You are not able to publish the report, yet you went doing this, that today, a kilometer, Elubo, how do you call it, Enchi to Elubo Road, 71 kilometers will be $116 million, $1.6 million per kilometer. And my friend, a senior colleague, is there talking about transparency under President Akufo-Addo?
Yeah, Mr. Aboja, if you can answer the other question that you touched on. I mean, Mr. Boahedu, give me a second, just a second. Mr. Aboja, one of the findings of the report, you touched on it yourself, but I didn't quite get your response to that. That a road that should cost that the government did for 18 million. In the contract that you awarded under the Jomama administration, it cost in excess of 100 million.
No, not at all. You see, I would excuse my good friend, my senior, because he's not a quantity surveyor or he's not versed with.
Yeah, but what accounts for that? Is it true though? You admit that happened?
No, that project. In fact, I have a whole plethora of documents here. The project was rescope. It was taken from one of the entities under the road ministry, and then when it was ceded to Cocoa Board, the total scope has changed. In fact, they were just doing sport improvement. Now they were doing total rehabilitation up to ceiling level.
Yeah, but from 18 million to more than 100 million, that's a shocker.
No. Even the kilometer, the length is different. You see, if you're doing sport improvement, you can just maybe pile some gravel and roll it. We are talking about totally doing a formation, drains and everything. But you see, don't latch on it because there's so many things. In fact, he's not even aware that the projects were not even. In fact, the total number of projects that we handed over in our handing over note is actually 233 different projects. And he also churned out some figures. Evans, the total commitment after the time we handed over was 5.1 billion Ghana cedis, as he talked about. But out of that, 1.8 billion was paid as of the time we handed over. The total outstanding certified work is not 800 million Ghana cedi, was 229 million, 994, 366, and 34 pesos.
Okay.
All these details are in the handing over note that he got.
Just a second.
The most important thing that you should do today, which you have done rightly, and kudos to multimedia, is that today, 4 years after the announcement of an audit into Cocoa Road, the government of the President Akufo-Addo can't point you to a website or a location. They are now asking you, Evans, to go and apply. That is a novelty. Go and apply to get a report that was done, and then the person who took the money is a chairman of the ad hoc committee, who is a member of the Council of State.
Mr. Hold on, Mr. Boahedu, yes.
Where he's going.
Mr. Boahedu, please, yes, respond to the issues he's raised for me.
No, he's personalized the whole thing because maybe if he has an ask to grant with the chairman of the committee, this is not the platform to do that. He should go and face it. I've already indicated that this whole thing must not be personalized because structure and composition of the committee was that we had some private participation to get some fairness and objectivity of whatever report.
Yeah, but if you're getting a private participation, why can't you get somebody, a private company that had nothing to do with individuals already involved in the work?
No, the point is, I've already explained that private entity that was involved was not in any way involved in any of the Cocoa Road projects. And that was the guiding principle, that because of conflict of interest, that particular entity that comes in as a private, member should not be involved in any aspect of the Cocoa Road business. And that's all.
So how did you procure them?
Didn't come from ourselves.
How did you procure the chairman to be the consulting firm?
Mr. Agweda, just a second. I'll allow him to make his point. Yes, Mr. Brown.
Now, he talked about the road which was originally 18 million. But the terms were the same. But then from GOG to Cocoa Board, the figure, the cost of the road metamorphosed to over 100 million. So that's what I'm talking about. And when you inherit a program whereby there's no money, because there was no money, maybe my honorable member doesn't know that they didn't leave a pesewa there. Meanwhile, outstanding IPCs were to the tune of 819 million.
No, $229 million.
Why do you say no? I signed this thing, all the certificates that were paid. You didn't sign the certificates. I signed, and I paid 819 million. And of course, there were outstanding, and I'm not talking of even outstanding works. Outstanding works were to the tune of 2.3 billion. But IPC that have not been paid, some of them dating, September, October, November, December, that we inherited, which have not been paid. The total was the tune of 819 million Ghana cedis. So if you come and inherit such a huge debt where you have no money, do you straight away go ahead and then you ask people to continue working? This is what, and then I must also correct this impression that not all roads were suspended. Not all roads.
Yeah, you made the point in the beginning. So let me ask you finally, Ms. Bayedu. So in a way, just a second, Ms. Abuja, Mr. Bayedu, in the wake of all that you've done, what do you intend now to do with the results of the audit? Because if you have found that indeed roads have been inflated, etc., what do you intend to do? Are you going to prosecute people?
The audit, is about the way the prices were done.
Did you find wrongdoing? Did you find wrongdoing or not?
No, what I'm saying is that, for instance, if you are a contractor and you've been awarded a contract, you've been awarded a contract, and the contract, let's say the amount involved was 10 million, and then we come and then assess, and we realize that no, you shouldn't be paid 10 million, you should be paid 8 million. That's what happened. Okay, so you didn't find corruption. You didn't find anything that breached the law, as in corrupt practices that is prosecutable. No, we were looking for value for money. I think if you listen to me carefully.
Yeah, okay, so I get it. So we were looking for value for money. But there was no wrongdoing.
We did the same thing for even suppliers, fertilizers.
Okay.
We did the same thing for fertilizers. The unit prices were found to be higher or high. So we called all the suppliers for them to, cut down on their prices.
Okay, Mr. Bayedu.
Through that, they were able to bring their prices down before the procurement was done.
Okay, that is why I asked earlier. Yes, go on briefly, Mr. Abuja.
Now that he's talking about value for money, I'm asking, what amounted to the price of $1.6 million per kilometer on the Elubo to NT Road? Since he's talking about value for money, what amounted to the reason? And it's a record in our country. That's the highest we are paying for a kilometer.
I believe, I don't know your background, whether you are a quantity surveyor or whatever. But the Elubo NT Road, it's a virgin road. It's a green road. At the time, Eagle Star, during the
Eagle Star was 30 kilometers of it before you came.
The government then was paying over $800,000, not even for surfacing. It was not meant intended for tarring. She was only doing cutting of the road just to prepare the road for road formation, and you were paying all that amount for Eagle Star. And everybody knows what was done there. I don't know if you travel on that road.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm grateful. I'm sure this is one of those issues that will get interrogated. Now that we have to apply and get a copy, we'll get a copy of the report that excerpts of it was announced at the press conference today. Still ahead.
European Union's decision to blacklist Ghana over money laundering begins to bite as Ghana's embassy in Belgium is ordered by its bankers to close its accounts.
They asked us to remove our money to another bank. That's how they put it.
Also, leader of the Homeland Study Group Foundation calls on government to intensify its investigations to establish the masterminds behind the recent violence by separatists in the Volta region.
And now these sort of things are happening. Nobody should label the Homeland Study Group Foundation with this kind of thing. We have to keep away from it. We did not, and we are not like that. I inform all of you emphatically that Ghana should intensify its level of investigation.
And in business, almost 3 million inquiries made with credit reference bureaus for last year, according to latest Bank of Ghana report.
signed, nearly sealed and waiting to be delivered as Ghana midfielder Thomas Partey lands in London to complete his 4-year deal at Arsenal. Details when I join you much later with sports.
And as the 2020 National Science and Maths Quiz moves to the semi-final stage, we'll tell you all about the nail-biting contest, jaw-dropping results, and outstanding performances by underdog schools in the competition.
From the 1-8, we'll take it to the finals and we'll win it by God's grace.
Just thank God for it, for the victory, and then we'll go back and do our homework.
That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Please join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp on 055 1111 997. We're right back after the break.
Hey, I say, mix it some